with a bunch of talc around it. So what we're seeing is that this entire area used to just be like a kind of dolomite structure, and then as the diabase has intruded, we get this talc formation around it, and that is due to the magnesium content within, well, the talc. And when the diabase intrudes in sort of that dolomite, it adds some fluid, and it adds kind of like that H2O oxidation as well as silica, which creates talc, which is good. And this is what we call a sill. So when we're talking about like lava flows, we talk about dikes and sills are horizontal, and dikes are kind of like vertical, and they cut through and they go up. And this is a sill, and we know this just because it's very parallel with all the bedding.
Here we have gone up past the talc mines, and we are still currently in the Crystal Springs, but here we are getting these really interesting wavy layers and they kind of extend that way, and they look like they could possibly be the result of the trapping and binding due to the presence of microbial structures. That's like when you see kind of wavy laminations like this, that's often the cause of that. But we are looking for good examples of stromatolitic features, which are like the more dome-shaped structures, which we might see as we continue to go up section.
Sorry,
Here we see a lot of stromatolites, and so stromatolites are teeny tiny microbial features, and as you can see here, they start off in really teeny tiny squiggles, and they're building these kind of dome shapes, and this is like the relief between domes where they go down, and then they're going whee, and then if you look over here, you can see that the domes just get bigger and bigger and bigger as more stromatolites are kind of building up together, and they become friends, and they make these giant domes. Yeah.
So these stromatolites form when the colonies, like there's these huge colonies of single-celled organisms, and they form these mats, and they accumulate sediment underneath by constantly trapping and binding grains of sediment, so it kind of builds up over time, as you can see here. And unfortunately, there are very few of these colonies around today because, like, during the Cambrian explosion and after that, like, a lot of the more modern creatures, they kind of ate through these mats. So they can only survive in, like, environments where, like, other creatures can't really survive. So here we are a bit higher in the section, and as you can see, we have this interesting, very like crinkly, wavy, alternating dolomite and cherty layers, and below it and above it we have these fine-grained, massive sandstone units. So this indicates like a change in environment, in the energy of the environment here, and judging by like the just crinkly but like not as domed feature of this layer, we think it's like more flatter microbial mats. And yeah, before and after this layer, the energy in the environment changes. Here we've transitioned into a blue, thicker limestone unit, and we know it's limestone because when we put acid on it, it fizzes, as we can see right there. So we're seeing a lot more of these conical, very like crinkly laminated stromatolites, as opposed to like just now we walked past some really domal ones, as shown in the rocks along here. And we can really see the laminations really well in this rock here.
Okay, so when we're walking more this way, the morphology and kind of lithology also kind of changes. So it's still limestone because we acid test it and it fizzes right away, but it's more in like a beigey color comparing to the blue limestone that we just saw. And also we can see that the stromatolites here are way more columnar than the ones that we saw before. So we can see it here, and then should we? Yeah. So this is the top of these stromatolites, and we can see it's like long, stretched, thin, and tubular.
2, 1.
Stromatolites!
So these are the same like stromatolite tops, the columnar tops that we were seeing all the way over there, but now you can see they are massive. Like we have these huge mats that have been growing for, you know, years and years and years, and it continues up. Like it's just these huge massive tops that are so much like bigger than the other ones were. So we were discussing that this was likely sort of like a tidal zone where we can just see all of them like flowing into each other, flowing out of each other. Like this was a really big squishy mat that was probably really stinky, but it's just the size of it is crazy.
So here we have a very different type of rock. This is what we like to call a leopard chert. You can see like it's reddish with the black patterns that sometimes look a bit like leopardy. And we think, so there are two ways in which chert can be formed. Well, we know that there was contact metamorphism like sometime after it was formed, but it can be deposited in two ways. So either it was deposited as chert by like precipitation, or it replaced something that was there before.